Hi, everyone. So today we'll be talking about some lessons we've learned as we've been running ByteSized. So just to introduce our team, so my name's Isra. I am the lead for ByteSized and co-founder, and I'm a second year at Mac. And yeah, let everyone else introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Samia. I am the Chief Outreach Officer at ByteSize. I'm also a second year student at Mac, going into my third year. Um, I was also co-founder with Isra.
Hey everyone, I'm Tammy. I'm also a second year student at Mac in the same program as Sammy and Isra. I'm the Chief Content Officer here at ByteSized, and I am also one of the co-founders of ByteSized. I won't be giving the talk today, but I'll be here for moral support.
All right, so I'm the last one. So, hey everyone, my name is Vaishnavi. I am a second year student at the University of Waterloo, and I am the graphic designer and the social media manager at ByteSize.
So before we jump into the content for today, we just wanted to go over what we do here at ByteSized. So we are a group of university and high school students who are working towards a goal of inspiring and bringing together youth to increase their technical literacy. This is mainly towards high school students because we think that that's the group that will have the most impact. So, our aim is to help high school students gain some sort of grasp on the technology industry before going into post secondary life. We do this through educational content through Instagram. You could see all of the posts that we have so far on the slide right now. Our topics are pretty technology focused, but we ensure that we take it from a point of view that isn't intimidating and is super beginner friendly, so that this is a touch point where people can come back to as they're progressing through their interest in technology. Our focus is giving our followers a comprehensive base foundation of knowledge on which to build their technical concepts from, but enough of the basics that they're able to understand how to go about learning it on their own. We believe that learning how to do your own research while learning how to program is really like the biggest part, and it's the best way to learn. And that's what we want to be promoting with our content. So today we're going to be going over a step-by-step process as to how we got started as a nonprofit. So this summer we mark our 1 year of ByteSized going up and running. So we're going to be covering how we went from just an idea to an organization that we are today, and we're going to be covering how we did our research, how we defined our problem space, how Israel went about building a team and then building a brand together, as well as reaching out and our communication efforts and some of the cool partnerships we've been doing.
All right, so to start off, we'll be going into the research of it all. So a lot of great ideas come from reflecting on your own lives and the problems that we've faced personally. This could be a huge number of things, such as something you wish would have been done differently or done in a better way, something you wish you had known before going into a certain chapter of your life. So this is essentially where the idea of ByteSize came about. So in high school, all three of us actually shared a very negative experience towards our computer science education. Well, however, ironically, we're all going into the software industry. And so, again, in high school, we had such a negative outlook on it until we reached university and got that super hands-on experience and actually learned what technology means and what computer science means. And we learned to love it so much that we wanted to pursue a career in it. So as a result, you can see that the experience that we had in our high school lives didn't really reflect the actual, like how we actually felt about the subject because of the way it was taught largely. And this is not to put down the education system. It's just everyone learns differently. And so that is where the idea for ByteSized came about. We wanted to create an organization that's dedicated to helping high school students overcome those stereotypes and misunderstandings of technology, such as, oh, you need to be like super smart to understand how to code, or you need to know a lot of math. And for anyone who's in technology, as some of you may be, you know that that's not true. You don't need to be coding from a super young age to be a super smart computer scientist. You can do that from the comfort of your own home whenever you want to start. So that's where the whole idea of ByteSized came about. So before going with this idea, we did have to do a little bit of research. So before I brought the idea to Samia and Tammy, the co-founders of ByteSized, I made sure to understand the problem a little better. And so to do that, I had to do a lot of personal outreach, or a better word for it, as you might know, is networking. So my original idea was to have a beginner-friendly hackathon for high school students in the Toronto and York area. And so I reached out to a lot of hackathon founders and chairs to understand the problems that they went through when building their cause, getting advice for the idea I had, and in general, trying to solidify the idea before bringing it to anybody and creating a whole organization out of it. In fact, I actually reached out to a couple of people from TOHacks, so the founders, Andy Tran and Shweta, as well as I also reached out to one of their core team members, Jason Emery, to just to, again, further solidify the idea before bringing it to anybody. So LinkedIn messages and coffee chats, and even just reaching out to regular classmates can be an amazing resource in this, especially when you're just figuring out your idea and your problem space, which we'll talk about next.
Can you go back?
Oops.
Okay, sweet. So after we have looked into the problem some more in the research phase, after we know, okay, this is what's wrong, we had to go about really defining a specific problem space where we want to be bringing our quote unquote product into the market. So no matter the idea that you have, no matter what product you're planning on bringing into the market, there's likely someone else doing something very, very similar. So in that respect, you have to figure out a way that would make your product unique. This is some very vanilla advice. I'm sure you know that, but some ideas where you can go about making yourself unique is that maybe you have a different approach, a different implementation that like of the solution that you think is faster, more effective than what's already out there. You can also try localizing it to a specific location where the idea might not be as popular. So for ByteSized, which is a organization for high school students to learn about technology, we realized that a lot of this area was saturated in the downtown Toronto core. And as such, we wanted to bring the outreach out more into the suburbs and more into the GTA, which is largely the high school population that we've been reaching out towards through our various fields. And you can also do this by focusing on a specific group. So like I mentioned earlier, on a specific group that maybe lives somewhere, or for example, a particular age group, it would have been super easy for us to branch on off to university students, which is something that we had considered, but we landed on specifically high school students as we thought it would have the most impact, since there's already so many things available for university students to be exploring in terms of careers and not enough for high school students. So yeah, again, for ByteSized, what this meant was that we wanted to focus our resources for students that took an approach of how to learn. So that's what our uniqueness was, and what we wished to bring to it was how to learn, how to go about as a technologically savvy person in the technological world, and not necessarily what you have to know specifically. So to expand, we aimed on showing students what is out there and how to get started with that. And this is to say, like, all of the different like coding communities that are already out there that I'm sure you're aware of, but ByteSized would act as a foundation, as okay, I'm done this, where can I go next, or where can I even start? So the whole reason we took this approach is because we believe that this would be the most both engaging and understandable way to learn about all the different facets of technology without making it too overwhelming for the consumer. So once you've solidified this uniqueness to your brand, it's super duper helpful to create a mission statement, or an overarching goal that you can refer back to whenever you're having new events or when you're starting a new initiative, to make sure that you're adhering to this goal, or even to make sure that this goal is representative of who you are as a company today.
All right. So now that the idea is there, it's time to decide the structure of your organization. So with this, self-drive and discipline are super, super important to reach the goal and mission statement that we just created. Since there is no teacher or superior figure who is setting deadlines for you or assessing your work or giving that sort of graded feedback. And so this idea will help you to determine what kinds of team members you'd like to be working with and ultimately choosing your team members. So when beginning ByteSized, I ended up actually reaching out to some of my closest friends in my program because I knew that they would be dedicated and that would be a safe space for any idea generation, which is something that we had to do a lot, especially in the beginning, in terms of the events and the activities that we wanted to run. Obviously, there can be some downsides to this approach, as some might point out, such as creating tension within a friend group if conflicts do arise, or a lack of accountability. But it kind of depends on what you believe will be the best. So as to reach that mission statement that we mentioned before. So one thing in particular is with ByteSized, among the founders, as we've mentioned, we're all a part of the same program and at the same university. And so we have very similar deadlines, and as a result are pretty busy at the same times. Once again, this can be seen as a disadvantage or an advantage. The disadvantage being that there might not be anybody available to keep things moving smoothly when midterm season comes around, or there's very large assignments that are due. However, a counterexample and the advantage to that is that we have a better understanding of the best times to work together and when we can create the most content that is geared best towards our mission statement or goal. And furthermore, especially in the beginning, the idea of less is more is super important when it comes to the number of team members. This may sound a little counterintuitive because if you want more content, then ideally that would translate to more content creators. Although having that many people on a team would be nice in the long run, in the beginning, it's better to keep it relatively small and limited to those who really understand the mission, as you can create a really good foundation that way that you can then further build up when you bring on more team members. After this, it's much clearer what can and cannot be done. And as a result, it makes it a lot easier to divide up the responsibilities and the work to once again achieve that mission statement.
So in terms of building your brand, this is arguably the most important part, almost as important as having a good team, because this is the way that you're going to be communicating to your audience and how you're going to be attracting new people to your product and really expanding your reach, which is ideally what you want to be doing with your product, with your company, with your initiative. So with the research that we talked about earlier, we want to choose a method of communication that best relates to your audience. Once again, in the context of ByteSized, our aim was for high school students. So a front runner in terms of the platforms that we were going to use was Instagram, and it became very clear to us almost immediately after we decided that we will be going ahead with a high school audience. And we also have a Medium page. Medium, for those who don't know, is a article sharing community where we were able to increase the amount and the types of content we were able to deliver. Instagram can be limiting in terms of the content that we can deliver, in that it's almost very specific to the posts, as well as 24-hour stories and more recently reels. But we felt that articles would be a great way, sort of like how BuzzFeed does it, to get our content and our message out to more people and faster. And in doing this, also in everything that you do in terms of branding, it's incredibly important to refer back to your mission statement that you formulated throughout your process. And this really allows you to ensure that your brand is built around something that stays consistent, at least for a year or like a good amount of time, so that your audience has time to get to know you and build a relationship with you, and grow to trust the things that you are saying, the things that you're putting forward and creating and offering them, so that they might be able to return to you over and over again, which is ideally what you want as a brand. It's also important to create like a nice coherent message for the audience to know who you are and what you are going to be doing for them. Back to the idea of consistency, it's really key to building a successful brand. Consistency here means a boatload of things, but the primary thing you want to be taking away from this slide is that if you are going to be in the content creating business, make sure that you are putting out content regularly. Make sure you're engaging with your audience in both a meaningful way, as well as a way that they know that you can be trusted to be offering content, say once every week at least, and they just keep seeing your face. And the second part of consistency is obviously that visual part that we see a lot on social media. And we, as software engineering students, had a really fun time working on the front end of all of these things, because this was one of the few times we were able to really get our creative fingers into creating what we want visually. And we find that this could be a really fun portion for you as well, if you choose to build your brand in this way. So here's some cool web apps that we used in helping us building our brand. So the first one is Coolers, that is with 2 O's. Which helped us create our color palette so that we could use a nice, consistency to resonate with our audience and displayed our goal of approachability. As university students, we can sometimes come off as intimidating, especially to a target audience that's high school students. Alternatively, this can be if you're university students and your target audience is, say, like business professionals, and you want to seem like adept at whatever you're doing, like colors would be a great way to go in that direction. Similarly, we used Figma as a part of our logo creation, font selection, as well as our feed planning process. Figma, if you don't know already, Vaishnavi is going to be doing a great workshop about it later. And it's just like a really good all-purpose design tool for you to visualize whatever you'd be creating. And this would be a great idea for your hack as well, moving into the competition part of this. And finally, we loved like doing creative things, but none of us were necessarily artistically again, adept. So it was completely all right for us to, and it's going to be completely all right for you to use open source illustration sources such as Undraw. So this is open source and royalty free, which means you don't have to pay if you are publishing it anywhere. There's so many other websites that fit this description, and Undraw is just one of them.
All right. So lastly, we'll be going over outreach and communication. So these are actually your best bet to growing your audience, which seems pretty intuitive. And this will ultimately help you reach your mission statement across to so many other people and just increase the amount of people that you help in the end. So however, this might not look the same for every mission. So we'll kind of focus on what we did at ByteSized to help you give you guys some context to the idea and maybe give you a little bit of a better idea on what you might want to do if you do go around the nonprofit organization route. So we reached out to a lot of hackathons to help promote them, as we mentioned earlier. And in return, we would promote their events as well. So we did our best to focus on hackathons that were geared towards high school students to help reach our target audience. Again, as we mentioned before, which are high school students. So we also reached out to a lot of other organizations, such as Cyber Mentor and TU20, as named on the slide. And we're able to have a lot of collaborative events and content together. And so these types of collaborations helped immensely because it helps their audience see who you are and what your goals are, while also supporting the original organization's content as well. Aside from these organizations, friends, classmates, teachers, and just generally people you know in real life can help a lot in terms of getting that message across. This is where the power of networking comes in. Those people that you reach out to that help expose your brand will reach to so many other people, and that exposure essentially just propagates throughout. And so all of these are great ways to help increase the reach of your organization, and as a result, as I've mentioned, help the greatest amount of people. So as we've touched on before, communication within your team is super vital, as without it, nothing would ever get done correctly or on time, and it would essentially just kind of ruin the image of your brand. And so this is especially true for content creation, as it can be challenging to express the visions you have to your content creators, unless obviously you're the one who's doing it, which can be a lot of stress and a lot to take on, especially if you're dealing with the whole organization and the structure of it. So being able to communicate your vision with the rest of the team will also help strengthen your brand and how it communicates, how it continues to be built throughout the years. And it's completely okay to experiment with different ways of communication. And so there is no one size fits all with this type of skill. Either you could do bi-weekly meetings or just written communication on Slack if that fits better for your organization. And it's just, it helps to try and find the best way to get your ideas across to help increase the quality of that communication within your team. And as a result, help increase that communication outside of your team to your audience. So we hope that you enjoyed the talk and were able to take something away from it. If you want to learn more about ByteSized, our handles are on here, Instagram and Medium. And if you have any questions, we can take them out, and our Instagram handles are on the screen if you'd like to get in contact with us too.
Oh, I don't know if we specified earlier, but we were talking about this throughout the presentation, but Isra and I are we just finished our second year of software and biomedical engineering at McMaster University.
All right, I don't know if any questions are coming. So oh, what would we do differently? I think something I would probably do differently is be able to distribute responsibilities a little bit more evenly, because sometimes it seems like some members might be taking on a little bit too much, some members might be taking on a little too little. So I think finding that balance from the beginning, it's obviously very ideal and probably not always attainable, but I think that would be something that we might look to fit correcting in the future. Yeah, I don't know if Sammy, if you have anything to add on.
I don't know. I feel like in the beginning we were very like idealistic.
Yeah.
Things would be doing. We were like overshot a lot of things, but I'm grateful we did that though, because I feel like because of that we are able to do a lot more like right now where we are.
Mm-hmm. In terms of our most unexpected challenge, I think finding people to reach out to. Because there are so many organizations out there, but like not all of them will obviously want to do collaborations for whatever personal reasons that they have. And I think that was the biggest one, because I remember reaching out to one of the organizations that we named, TU20, for example, and the collaboration that we had with them wasn't as big as we had hoped for. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I second that. It's really hard to get in contact with people, which is why when it comes to networking, sometimes quantity is better. So, yeah. What do you think is the biggest mistake that a lot of nonprofit / student organizations make in developing their brand?
I think one of the biggest ones is like doing it for the purpose of putting it on their resume. Like that is one of my biggest pet peeves. It's like you don't have to always create this new organization if you already know someone close to you that's already doing something, for example, that you can just reach out and maybe join their team and help just build the just like help build their brand and increase the reach and the people that they can reach out to. Like you don't always have to start something for it to look good on a resume, even if you just even if you just join a team and explain all the different stuff that you helped with and introduced or whatnot. That helps a lot, especially. Yeah.
Yeah, no, those are great points. I think two things that like are really like damaging to a nonprofit or a student organization is first, if they don't start with like a really good idea of what they want to be doing, which I've seen a lot of, as well as like they start like really good in the beginning, but don't necessarily have a plan going forward, and they don't necessarily keep their audience engaged. You could have like thousands of followers on Instagram, but not really have any impact.
Yeah. And that's where the whole idea of having less is more in terms of team members is where we brought up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.